Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome to Michael Stone's book launch. We're here to celebrate this incredible achievement, the Traumatized, a love story, healing the wounds that separate, alienate, and marginalize us. This has been a lifetime in the making and a few years of actually recording it into a way that we can all share in the story and learn and grow from it.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. Also, I just wanted to say hi. I'm letting Marielle introduce everybody. Would you take a moment to write in the chat just where you're from so we get an idea of how much territory we're covering here?
Albuquerque, New Mexico, Red Bank, New Jersey, Montreal, Canada, Penn Valley, California, New York City, Kona, Hawaii, Grass Valley, Vancouver, BC, Southern Alberta, Munich, Germany, another from Germany, Grass Valley, Nevada City. I'm on the Sunshine Coast of British Columbia in Canada, and Sacramento. So I'm just going to read for you Michael's bio. He's a spiritual author, a teacher, a mentor, a shamanic practitioner, a radio host, a producer, and trauma integration facilitator. He co-creates safe individual and group environments that support people in transcending the myth of separation and experiencing profound interconnection with others and all of life. He has taught and led live events, classes, teleseminars, and workshops on organizational development, embodied shamanism, moving meditation, mysticism, personal growth, and spiritual fulfillment for over 50 years. And the website is welloflight.com. So welcome, everybody. Michael, thank you for sharing your work with us.
Thank you, Marielle. It's really special to have you there. For those of you who don't know, Marielle is my ex-partner and best friend, and she lives in Canada and I'm in California, and it's a delight to be with you. It, it's an example of you can have relationships that don't have to end badly. And I'm really excited about having you all here to share my new book. It's been 3.5 years in the making, but really it's been 80 years in the making. It was really challenging to write this book um, because I had to go through my whole life and really look at every part. And it's written very raw and very real and very down to earth. And it's been some wonderful comments so far on the book. Um, and for me, it's more than just a book launch. It's an honoring of the intelligence of trauma, and that's something I want to really get across today as we talk. I'll read some excerpts, or at least one, and talk about the contents of the book. But this, you know, what's happening in the world right now, um, all over the world, the racism, the wars, the climate change, the enslavement, all of these issues that are happening here that are pretty scary right now, they're all born of trauma. And trauma, the first casualty of trauma is that we get disconnected from each other. It creates separation, it creates scarcity. I'll talk about that a little more later. But so for me, this is really an opportunity for us collectively to take a look at um, our own areas where, we think that trauma is something bad or a pathology or something to get rid of, but it's really this intelligence of the nervous system that's been evolving for hundreds of thousands of years to, in an overwhelming situation, to shut and fragment parts of ourselves, which get lodged in the body. And that's important, they get lodged in the body as tension and numbness. So, this is a story about healing trauma. It is my story, and I'll share about the book and about that. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but here's the book. Um, and Traumatized, a love story, healing the wounds that separate, alienate, and marginalize us. And that's really been my intention for ever since 1972. I had an opportunity to be with Buckminster Fuller and Werner Erhard at an event called Creating a World That Works for Everyone with No One and Nothing Left Out. Some of you might remember that, 1972. And that really set me on a path. And that's where my radio show that I had for 17 years, that's where many of the projects, starting the Five Rhythms dance community, the work I did in corporations, and many other areas that I've worked in. But it's all been about healing the wounds that separate. And right now, we need to heal the wounds that separate. And it's my belief that every one of us, when we integrate, and I'll talk about integration, when we integrate unfinished past, which is what trauma is, it not only heals us, but it heals our ancestral stream, and it also allows us to it also impacts the collective. So I just want to throw that out in the beginning, but I'd actually like to start. I lit my candle here, and I'd like to start with a little meditation if you're open to that. So if you just take a soft glaze or close your eyes and join me. And first of all, I just want to open my heart to welcoming you to take the time on Saturday to be here. I also want to honor the land that we are on, that you are on. Here in Grass Valley, it's the land of the Nisenan, who were the original people of this land. I just want to honor them. And I also want to invite you to bring in your ancestors. We often look at our ancestors as the things we didn't get, or the things that were difficult, or hard to forgive. And yet, they are a source of resilience for us. And I just want to call in all of our ancestors here to be with us today as a healing source that we can tap into if we get triggered anytime, but particularly today. So, having said that, let's take a moment to just notice how we're being breathed and soften the breath as we bring our awareness into the inner body and just taking a notice of what's happening in our body. We don't heal trauma cognitively. We heal it by releasing the tension or tensing and numbness that is constantly happening as a result of trauma. So just allow ourselves to take a screenshot of our body, inner body, and maybe elongate the out breath a little bit longer than the in breath, which allows us to zoom in and drop more deeply into the body. You might bring your awareness to your feet and notice how close your connection to the earth is, just honoring that connection, the source of life. Bringing some awareness to the pelvis and the lower belly, our base. And just getting a sense of being grounded. So inner space is the source of creation. So we really want to look and see, what's the inner space, my inner space like? Does it feel cramped and tight? Or open and flowing, movement? And whatever's there, we're not trying to change anything. We're just trying to meet ourselves as we are. That's the key to trauma healing, is not trying to be somewhere else other than where we are, but to attune more specifically to exactly where we are so that we can allow those parts that have gotten stuck to integrate. And I can say more about that later. Noticing any tension in our body and just allowing it to be there, at the same time softening, slowing down. Notice any numbing or tensing in the body. And just move through the body a little bit to bring that kind of softening, relaxing. Noticing any emotions that might be present. Maybe there's some fear or anger, sadness, shame or joy, compassion, love, grief. Or just noticing whatever's there. And see if you can locate your emotions in the body. Another important practice of trauma integration. You'll notice that some emotions might be difficult to feel. Maybe you can't feel any in the body. And others might be very, very common. So the ones that don't have a hall pass, that we don't let in, maybe grief. The ones that we feel often, maybe sadness or joy. And just allowing ourselves to attune with our body and now our emotions. And taking a moment to also notice the state of mind, what's happening in the chat room, that one on your shoulders. And just notice if there's a stillness or spaciousness, or if it's contracted and thinking and wondering and planning. What am I going to do after this? We spend a lot of time in after time, time we carry from the past. So this is just to bring us into a state of deeper presence. Yeah. And then before we open our eyes, let's take a sense of what you've seen and just kind of feel that there's a whole bunch of people from around the world that's here with us right now. And that was interested enough to take time in the middle of a Saturday or a Saturday evening just to tune in and find out what this is all about. Yeah. And then let's take a couple deep breaths. Yeah. And as you're ready, softly open your eyes. If you'd like to turn your camera on, that would be beautiful. And just taking a moment to notice who's here. Not like just little squares, but real people that are in these little squares. And just maybe attune to who's here. See if you can just feel into, oh yeah, there are real people here. Thank you. Yeah. Very nice. So let's see. Let me give you a little, first a little bit about the process of this. Um, it happened, I'm going to work backwards in time a bit. So I was living in Canada. Part of my reason for going to Canada was that there was a great deal of gossip and slander around me that had happened 42 years earlier as a result of the murder and rape of my wife, Sonia. And when that went to trial, there was a hung jury. The police knew who did it, but they didn't have enough evidence. So as I was living in Canada, I got a call 40 years after the murder from an officer, Officer Wilson in Monterey County, saying they're reopening the case on my wife's murder after 40 years. And that they had gotten a grant for DNA testing, and and that they felt they had a pretty good case. Well, that was not quite true, but they managed to build a pretty good case. And finally, when they got a second piece of evidence that had been lost, they had enough to have two samples, a saliva sample and a blood sample. And the odds that it was not him, or the odds that it was him, they say it in a funny way, was something like 236 quadrillion to 1. That's like 19 zeros, in case you were wondering. So the jury came back with a guilty. He's serving life without parole. He did try to appeal, and since then, and the appeal was thrown out of court. So that that started me writing the book. Uh, Also, right afterwards, there were some newspaper articles that were very painful, interviewing someone who was at the heart of all the gossip in the community, who said she and the person who originated it, the two women that were really spreading the rumors, and this person was quoted in the newspaper saying, "I don't know why the judge didn't listen to the women of Nevada County. We're all waiting for the appeal." Whereupon I went into quite a bit of overwhelm and a week of tears and just crazy, pretty much. During that time of being pretty crazy, because of being a five rhythms teacher for almost 50 years, I think now, um, and I kept coming, and a trauma somatic therapist, I kept coming back to the body, and it was really exploding, and lots of things were going on. And as I was rocking back and forth to kind of soothe myself, which is a great thing to do when you're traumatized, is to rock. It's one of the things that you can do. I found myself continually going like this over my head. And then I realized that was my mother putting a pillow over my face when I would cry as a baby, and that I'd spent my whole life defending myself. Shortly after my mother tried to kill me numerous times, I found her hanging at 2.5. She'd committed suicide. Both my parents were at Pearl Harbor, which was the beginning of this story. And my mother was in the Women's Air Force. My father was a fighter pilot. So this is the story of that, of many traumas along the way, uh, and uh, and how I continued to work through those traumas and come back. Probably one of the biggest ones was at 7. I had fallen in love with this Cocker Spaniel, which is on the cover of my book. You might see, let's see, can I get that? That's me with my Cocker Spaniel right there. And I love that dog. My father named him Bourbon after his favorite drink. But I loved him no matter what his name was. And for 6 to 9 months, we were together, inseparable. And then my father tied the dog up when I went to school, or my stepmother, and the rope, he tried to climb over the fence, and I came home and found him hanging on the fence. So that's the start of my life. And it's been 50 years of working with those traumas. And I tell you this not to like shock you or anything. I tell you this because no trauma is indelible. That trauma can be integrated, trauma can be healed. This is a book about healing, not about my trauma. I do go through it all, and I share many of the ways. Every chapter has my story, reflections on my story, what I've learned, and then also a part that's a healing part. I'll tell you about some of those different chapters too. So, my intention here is really um, to inspire you to do your own work. Um, and many people say, I don't have any trauma. Well, we're all traumatized. Whether you know it or not, there's individual trauma, there's collective trauma, there's interpersonal trauma, there's ancestral trauma, there's historic trauma, there's immigration trauma. It's all in our body. I used to be fascinated with the Library of Congress. You know, how could they have one building that hold all the information in the entire world? Well, this is much larger than the Library of Congress, the Library of Alexandria. And so we have all of the history and all of the resilience of our ancestors available. We just have to learn how to tap into it, how to sense into it. And that takes a lot of presence, a lot of deepening presence. And right now, that's what we need in the world. And I'm feeling like right now, I'd like to maybe read something to you from the book. Would you like that? Yeah? Um, there's lots of things we could talk about here, but um, yeah, I was going to do that later, but I'll tell you about this is chapter 15 in the book, and it's called Holding Little Mickey, a case study in trauma healing. Now, originally, I was going to write a case study of someone that, or several people I had thought of writing about, a case study of the people I've worked with that I've done trauma therapy with. But I had in one of these big events around the newspaper article, I had a session with my therapist, and I thought, no, this is a book about my journey. So I wrote that instead of one of my own clients, but it's pretty much the same structure of the kind of work that I do. So I'll cut through here because I talk about that and um, and why I lead trauma circles. So there's a bunch in here, but I want to start with my trip to the therapist's office. I hope you like this, and I hope I can read it. So it's pretty tender, but it'll give you some idea of the book. So I arrived at my therapist's office that day, barely able to function. My shoulders were slumped, my eyes already brimming with tears. I felt like a shell of myself, depressed, disoriented, bone deep exhausted. My legs moved me there on autopilot, but my spirit lagged behind. I collapsed into the couch like I was surrendering to gravity itself. Tears slip out before I could even speak. She didn't rush me. She sat quietly in her chair, feet grounded, heart open, holding space. In that way she always does, patient, unwavering, present, breathing me in. What's here? She asked gently. Sorry, I'm going to turn a light on so I can see better. What's here? She asked gently. I shook my head. Words felt like pebbles in my mouth. I mumbled something about my car, the world, the chaos outside. I think I might be allergic to my dog, Buddha. I was rambling, reaching for something to tether myself. She listened, then offered a soft redirect. Let's stay with the inner space, she said, her voice soft and steady. The part you do have some control over. That landed. Her tone wasn't clinical. It wasn't trying to analyze or fix me. It was more like someone standing beside you on a dark porch, gently handing you the key to your own front door, not forcing you to go in, just reminding you that you live here, you have the key, but you don't have to enter alone. I inhaled, shaking. My chest felt tight, like I'd been holding my breath for years without realizing it. Beneath the scattered words and stories I'd come in with, the car, the noise of the world, the spiraling state of everything, I began to feel my body again. It felt heavy. I felt an airless fog of shame. That thick metallic stillness I've known since childhood, the old atmosphere of death and disappearance. A kind of emotional smog that clung to the inside of my skin. I was spiraling again, and yet something about her presence gave me permission to stay, to not flee the moment like I usually do. I took a long walk yesterday, I murmured, my voice barely audible, as if the words might vanish if I said them too loudly. Trying to feel into it, to touch whatever this is. I paused, blinking back tears I didn't yet understand, but nothing came. No insight, no clarity, just this kind of nothingness, this ache. The silence that followed didn't feel empty, it felt scary. My therapist didn't rush to fill it. She just waited with me, her body still, her eyes soft, embracing me with a motherly stillness. And in that stillness, something stirred. Not a solution, not an answer, just a flicker of warmth, the kind that says, "You're not alone anymore. You're not alone in this." She nodded with a knowing that reached beyond her words. Sometimes that nothingness is actually where the deepest pain lives, the ache without a story yet. Then she tilted her head slightly, her eyes steady. "I know you've spent your life trying to make a difference, and you have. But I wonder, what was the deeper intent behind that? I wonder if some part of you still feels like you have to earn the right to exist, your right to exist." Her words hit like a bell tolling in the cathedral of grief. I was having trouble breathing. "I wanted to matter," I whispered, my voice cracking. "I didn't want to be a victim. I wanted to do something that would make a difference in the world, something that had meaning and purpose." She paused, let the words settle like a trembling net cast over haunted waters, drawing up the sorrow that had drifted silent and unseen beneath the surface for years. "And maybe," she said gently, "maybe that desire came from a much earlier place. Maybe it began the moment you lost your mother." Suddenly, I wasn't in the room anymore. I was 2.5 years old. My mother was gone. And so was I, lost in the deep waters of grief and longing. In the earliest years of life, our sense of self is not something we possess. It's something we receive. It's given to us through the caring eyes, the tender touch, and the voice of a mother or primary caregiver. We come to know we exist because someone else reflects us back to ourselves. We are held, seen, and named. We're told in 1,000 nonverbal ways, "You're here, you matter, you're safe, you're loved." But when my mother died by suicide, that mirror shattered. There were no eyes to meet mine, no arms to hold me, no voice to say, "It's not your fault." All I had was silence, a vacancy so total that it swallowed me whole. This is one of the core wounds of early trauma, not just the event itself, but the response to the trauma, the separation and aloneness that comes with it, the rupture that never gets repaired, the confusion that becomes identity. "I think that's what you're terrified of," she said, her voice soft but unwavering. "That if no one is there to see you, you might disappear." And then, like someone reaching across time, she added, "You don't have to do this alone. I'm here. I'm here with you." My body braced. Aloneness was safer, familiar, but something more ancient in me, older than fear, wanted to trust, wanted to connect, wanted to be seen. So I let her guide me. She invited me to visualize my young self, little Mickey, the boy who had just lost his mother at 2.5 after experiencing a lot of pain from the one who was supposed to protect him. The boy who found her hanging. The boy who disappeared because no one knew how to hold his grief. What did he need, she asked. And suddenly I knew. To be held, to be told the truth, to be seen, to know it wasn't my fault. But instead, I had inherited the guilt of the adults around me, the silence, the shame, the secret, the terror, that couldn't be spoken, that lived beyond words and stories. You don't have to carry this alone anymore, she said, her eyes moist now, too. That guilt and shame, it was never yours. That's when the dam broke. My body convulsed. I curled in on myself, weeping into my hands. The tears were ancient, older than memory could recall. I sobbed from a place beneath language, as if my bones were releasing the scream they'd held for over 75 years. Still, something inside whispered, "It was your fault." She leaned in closer, not physically, but energetically. "That's your young self speaking," she said, "but your adult self, knows the truth. Can you come back to this moment with me?" I nodded, just barely, but it was enough. "Let's go to him," she said. "Let's bring him home together." She guided me into an imaginal realm, part memory, part dream, part soul retrieval. We returned to my grandparents' home, the place where it all happened. But this time we weren't there to relive the trauma. We were there to rescue the boy. I saw him, alone, frozen, sitting in a dark corner, shaking with fear. At my therapist's request, I reached for him. I picked him up, held my arms around him, whispered to him, "I've got you now. I've got you now," and held him against my heart. And then we left. We walked out of that haunted space, my therapist, my adult self, and little Mickey. Leaving the adults alone in their silent shame and suffering, we went to the backyard, one of the few places I remember feeling free. I crawled through the hedges and lost myself in the yellow and purple pansies that I love so much. "Let's help him pick some flowers," she said. So we did. I watched him gather them in his tiny hands. It wasn't just an image, it was medicine. A new memory planted like seeds in my nervous system. A memory that said, "You survived. You are loved. You can come home now. It wasn't your fault." That image of little Mickey holding flowers became the cover of this book, because it's not just symbolic, it's real. He's real, and he lives in me. As the session continued, something softened inside, a quietness settled, not numbness, but presence. We hadn't fixed anything, but we had repatterned something essential. I could almost feel new neural pathways being formed. We had offered my inner child a new experience, one where he wasn't alone, one where he wasn't blamed, ignored, or shamed, one where he was loved and treasured. "He doesn't have to make sense of it all," she said. "That's what your writing's been trying to do, make it all make sense. But little Mickey doesn't need sense making. He just needs to be held and loved." And I can do that now. 75 years of carrying a child who never felt safe. 75 years of rescuing others, over-functioning, trying to matter, to make a difference, but never feeling enough or worthy of belonging. You have been letting him drive the car, but he's too young. You need to put him in the back seat to play, and you need to take the wheel. Your adult needs to drive and keep him safe. For now, I can simply hold him close to my heart. He doesn't have to search for a mother's gone or a father who vanished into his own wounds. He has me, and that is enough. So, excuse me. It's a little hard to read, sorry. Um,
That was beautiful.
uh, so, actually, I'd love to open it up for um, any questions. I'll go into some more things, but I just thank you, Sasha. Thank you both, Alora. Yeah. So, anybody have any questions about trauma healing in general? I'll tell you a little more about the book, but I just like to hear some of your voices because mine's a little shaky right now. You can raise your hand down. Where do they raise their hand? Marielle, it should be down at the bottom. Yeah. Yes, please. Hi. Hi, Lolita. Hi, Philip. Good to see you.
Hi, thank you so much. This is
it's pulling at me, and you're brave, and I thank you for that. My
Mm.
question is, when did you start writing? What inspired you to, and I may be jumping ahead of it, I know we're talking
Mm.
about the book itself, but I'm just curious as to when you started this writing journey.
Well, I think writing started after high school, but it was more bad poetry and escapism. I started writing this book right after, actually right after I heard that they were reopening the case, and I started writing it. So 3.5 years to write it, um, and each event was a process of allowing myself to not try to get rid of something. Like, what we try to do is we try to get to a better place. And this is what keeps trauma stuck. We have to feel what's actually there. You don't create inner change by force or coercion or suppression. We integrate by feeling the things that we weren't able to feel at the time they happened, when the nervous system said, this is too much. We're going to push this down into the body and suppress it until it's safe. Unfortunately, some of us carry it through the entire lifetime. So the real issue, there are many practices in the book to help with that, but the a lot of our trauma is early attachment trauma, because in order to learn how to self-regulate, we have to have someone that can co-regulate with us, a parent or a caregiver, and we have to feel felt, seen, heard, held, and protected in order to just let someone in order to learn how to self-regulate. You can't self-regulate until you learn how to co-regulate. And if you didn't get that and you weren't witnessed, then that stays lodged in the body. This is why I do trauma circles as well as private counseling. The trauma circles, where I have 12 to 18 people together, um, then when you share something like I just shared, you got a dozen people that just heard you. And of course, there's a lot of practice that we do in the workshop. One of the things I've learned from Thomas Hubel, who I've studied with for over a decade now, uh, is that I just lost my thought just thinking about Thomas. That when we're practicing learning how to self-regulate, we practice feeling myself, feeling you, feeling me, and the space around us and in between us. Now, that sounds very simple to say that, but that is not simple. That is a practice that we do all the time in my work with Thomas, in my work with other people. This is, something that I do all the time. So, um, uh, yeah. So the biggest thing is getting rid of someday, that someday I'll get rid of this, that someday it's all going to work out. That's what keeps us stuck, because the thing that's right there that we're feeling, the fear or the anxiety or the shame or whatever it is, rather than feel it, we're trying to get to a better place. So the nervous system just raises up its protection and is protecting you. So we have to get underneath that. And the way to get underneath it is deepen our capacity for presencing. So meditation, contemplation, prayer, somatic dance, movement, resourcing our time in nature, all of those kinds of things are what allows us to begin to loosen the grip that trauma has on all of us. And like I said, we're all traumatized. Does that answer, Lolita? Is that
It does. Thank you. And
yeah.
so, yes, your book
Yeah.
is already in my shopping cart, waiting for this to end. Thank you.
Ah, good. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. That's great. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone who read the book? There's a couple
Share,
of people.
Michael, sorry, Sharon had her hand up. She'd
Oh,
like to
Sharon,
say
I'm
something.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's people still coming in. I'm admitting them, but could you do that, Marielle, so I
I'm
can
doing
just
it. Yeah, I'm on it.
thank you. Hi, Sharon. Good to see you.
Oh, hey, Michael. Well, I've ordered the book. I don't have it yet, so I haven't read it yet, but I'm really looking forward to that and to a time when I can see you in person and you can write in it for me, because I really don't really have a question, but I don't want to let the moment go by, because your reading like was a very beautiful moment, like
Mm.
really feeling being there with you. And I just want to appreciate it and say it's wonderful that you are sharing this with many. Um, yeah, thank you. I'm so
Mm.
happy to have been able to hear this like from you live, sort of. So that's
Thanks,
it.
Sharon. Yeah. Yeah, it's the medicine. It's my medicine that I've worked with for all these years that I really want to get it out there. I'm passionate about getting people trauma informed and trauma integrated and trauma healing. I'm very clear that that is the linchpin for every problem we have on the planet. And this is my little contribution. So, yeah. Anyone else have a comment or question?
I just want to read one from the chat here. Sorry, I don't know your name, but your says Concord Business Plans. It must have been amazing to learn that you were redeemed after 40 years of being falsely accused. You are a hero for turning this into a lesson about managing trauma.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know about the hero part. I think we're all heroes and heroines. Anytime we're willing to touch into those, um, you know, what Jung called the shadow areas. And the shadows are just the areas that are really scary that we don't want to feel and we certainly don't want other people to know. But that's where the salvation is. That's where we learn and grow is by tapping into those shadow parts, the parts we've pushed down. And and it's also very healthy because, you know, I'm turning 80 next month, and I'm clear that my health is from doing this work. And I see people who have a lot of trauma who are 20 or 30 years younger than me that are suffering with autoimmune diseases and cancer and all different diseases, which trauma is the source. 60 to 90% of all illness is stress related, and stress is just another word for trauma, unfinished past. It's the things that we carry forward and keep. It's like we take our past and we have put it in the future, and it's like a mirror. And everything we do, we think we're moving forward, but we're just looking in the mirror, doing the things that we learned on how to cope with trauma in the first place. Hope that makes sense. What I'm saying is, so, you know, we're either stuck in the remembered past, and I say remembered because if you have siblings, ask them, they'll tell you that the story wasn't that way. Or people, you know, it's the remembered past. It's what you use to be able to feel safe, or the imagined future, which is what keeps us from being present. But real future comes from deepening presence. So that allows us more creativity, more manifestation, more ability to connect, more ability to be with ourselves and to be with others. So, yeah, thank you, Sharon. Lovely. Yeah. Okay. Anything
And
else? Yeah.
and thank you, Wanda, for for your message.
Yes.
Just a welcome to Pastor Opinga Bush from Kenya, Africa. He's
Hey,
just joined
Opingo.
just
That's
joined us.
hello, my
Yes,
brother. Well, you
yes, my
made it.
concern. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm here. I'm sorry I joined late, but I've had a little bit of the discussion, and it's so amazing.
Well, we are recording it for people, so you can do it. But thank you for your amazing work. The pastor is well. Tell us a little bit about your orphanage. Maybe people want to hear that.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Pastor Opingo Bush from Kenya, and I've been a pastor for more than 5 years, like 7 years now, and I have an orphanage of 25 children
Hmm.
who are staying with me. I feed them, I clothe them, I educate them, and all those kind of things, though it's difficult to make sure that they meet all what they need. But it's in my heart because Jesus tells us to love the little children because the kingdom of heaven is theirs. And James chapter 1, verse 27 says, look after the children, the orphans and the widows, so that we keep them from being destroyed or because they always suffer outside there. Many people don't realize how much children are suffering, mostly those children who are orphans. And I like Mike Coston's book, Traumatized, because those children are somehow traumatized because of the loss of their parents. And they need our love, they need our care, they need us to teach them about Jesus Christ, that God loves them and he has a reason for them to be alive.
Thank
So I'm
you.
working so hard every day. I'm a taxi driver. As much as I'm a taxi driver, I work so hard to make sure that the 25 children that God has given unto me, that the children that God has given me to be a father to, that they
Thank
are
you.
well loved, cared for, and fed. So
Thank you.
that is my work. I have a church which has more than 50 members that I pastor to. So I'm grateful because I came in touch with Michael Stone, I think 1 year, 2 years ago. And I've been watching and reading the newsletters that he always sends, Facebook messages. They are so amazing. And I've already invited him to come to Kenya so that he can teach. He can meet with many people who are traumatized and share with them the experience that he had for 40 years. So it will be an amazing. I know with time, God's time is the best. And I believe God is gonna bring you here in Kenya. And anybody who will be interested to come to Kenya, because we love, I feel, because I can see we are almost 28 people in this forum.
Thank
If
you.
God allows you all 28 people to come to Kenya, it will be a blessing whereby you'll be led by Michael Stone. It will be a blessing for us.
I
Thank
love you, brother.
you.
I love
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. We will get to Kenya one of these days, God willing. So thank you. And thank you for taking care of those 25 children and all the other people in your parish. I'm really grateful. Thank you, Opingo.
Amazing. Thank
Okay,
you for
so
joining the call.
yeah.
And
So
just a quick one also,
yeah.
Linda Lee has written that she's writing her childhood story called Unspoken and My Trauma.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Who was that, Linda? Is that
Yes. Yeah,
okay?
she's
Oh,
waving her
hi,
hand
Linda
right
Lee.
now.
Hi. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. Let's see. Um,
And Teresia has her hand up.
Hi, Teresia.
We need to unmute. There
I
we
just
go.
did. Hi,
Good.
hi everyone. And
Linda.
I would just like to say I've been sitting in Michael's circle for over 2 years now, and I've witnessed the healing in others. I've witnessed the healing in him, and he's been witness to my own healing. It's just been an incredible journey, and it's inspiring. It's inspiring to see, and I can't wait to read the book. I've heard a lot of the stories, but it's different, and he's just so eloquent in his writing. And I just want to give my greatest, deepest gratitude. Thank you, Michael, and may this book, reach thousands, millions, hundreds. I hope this book really takes off because the message in it is one of healing, and everyone needs that. The world needs that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Teresia. An inspiration to me, and I really appreciate your participation for over 2 years. Yeah. So I'll tell
And
you.
I'm going to interrupt you one more time.
Yes, yes, please.
um,
It's like we're in a relationship again.
I'm interrupting you. Sasha is just would like to recognize that Linz and Terry are here and just thank them for for the dedication for 40 years of
Oh my
being on the
God,
case.
yes.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you, Linz and Terry. I didn't see
and
you,
thank you,
so
Sasha.
yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Um, they flew all the way out from the East Coast just to be at the trial. So after 40 years, that's amazing. Oh, there he is. Yeah, hi, Linz. Hi, Terry. It's good to see you. And I would be remiss if I didn't introduce my beautiful daughter,
There
Sasha.
we go.
I've yeah, been kind of protective of her and not wanting to cause any more stress than than necessary. But anything you want to say, Sash?
Just beautiful. I love that chapter. It's beautiful. I can't see you in my screen here. What if
Oh,
and here we go. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful job. I'm proud of you. And yeah, really wanted to say thank you to Linz and Terry for, the 40 years of not giving up on the case and being there for us. So just proud of you for completing this book and the work that you're doing with people. And yeah, happy to be here. And Karen's here
and
too. Karen's on the call too. Got family and friends and police
Karen's
officers.
on the phone. Oh, why? Hi, Karen.
Congratulations. I just
Thank
arrived today.
you.
I haven't
There
read
you
it
are. I didn't see you. There you are. Oh, you got it.
So
Oh,
it was funny, Michael. There's a little karma. I opened it literally while I was on here and I turned to page 178, literally just out of the blue. And there I read my beloved Uncle Pete. So I have to read the whole.
yeah, yeah. So,
Anyways,
your mom was like my
congratulations.
mom.
I
Yeah,
know.
Billy.
Michael and I are first cousins.
Yeah.
And he lived with us for a while when I was a little girl.
Mhm.
And we loved him.
Oh, thank
And
you.
Sasha too.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. So there's a lot in the book. There's 20 chapters. It kind of goes through the transformations and into maybe some more philosophical things at the end. But every chapter has like I said, my telling the story, my reflections on the story, and what I learned from it. And by the way, Sasha Stone is my number one teacher in life. But all of these chapters also have at the end another section, like I talk about attachment styles, about adverse childhood experiences, about emotional regulation. I even have a chapter around my dog where I talk about the emotional impact of losing a pet. Um, and seeing ADHD through a somatic lens, what is healing, the mystical perceptions on death, the gift of emotions. I go through all the emotions and show how we call this is a good emotion and bad emotion, but they're all teachers. A whole section on grief as a doorway to love and aliveness, and repetition compulsion, which is a really important thing to understand, that when we have the body wants to heal, it always wants to heal. So when we have a trauma that isn't integrated, it will keep coming up, it will keep getting triggered, and you'll think that the person that's making the person that you say you're making me so mad is not about that person. It's triggering something in you from a long time ago. And when you can learn about repetition compulsion, you can begin to see, oh, wait, this is my younger self having a cognitive response to an emotional situation. So, yeah, so there's lots of wonderful things like that in there. Um, and then let me also share a process that I do in the book that I think is very important. It takes a lot of practice, but so when I say trauma integration, what I'm talking about is that stuck energy from the past, the narrative, the story, that we begin to deconstruct this story to be able to create more space to create a new story and new neural pathways. And we do that by this model that I'm going to tell you. that I use, like I said, in personal and in group work. And the first thing is presencing, the word presencing. Um, and presencing is that I ground myself, I bring myself into a state of presence. Meditation is very good for this. I do an hour a day, every day, of meditation to keep grounded and be able to keep deepening the kind of work. So presencing is the first thing. And just to say about presencing, mostly what we're doing in our relationships, I do a workshop called Relational Intimacy, is what we call absencing or distancing. Um, and you'll begin to see this as you do this kind of process, how much we do this absencing and distancing to protect ourselves. So presencing is the first part of the model. Then we move to witnessing, which means we deepen our look into the body, into the emotions, and raise the resolution of our awareness. So we'll want to go away from it. But when that fear comes up that's been pushed down for 30 or 40 years, it doesn't feel good, but the pain of suppressing it and the energy it takes to suppress it is well worth doing the work to bring it up. And so we have, this part where we're witnessing that, and we just allow ourselves to feel as much as we can, to feel the fear, the anger, the suppression, the rage, whatever it is that got pushed down and fragmented and dispersed is in the body. And so witnessing is the second step. And after witnessing is embracing, is making friends with it. It's putting our arms around that younger part of ourselves and saying, like the story I read to you, we're going to put the boy in the back, we're going to put the girl in the back seat, and the adult is going to drive the car. And that's basically what that is. When I get to that point of embracing and unblending myself from my younger part so that my adult can see and embrace that younger part and give him or her what she or he needs, then that allows for integration to automatically happen. It's not about trying to get rid of something, it's trying to attune with and deepen our relationship with those suppressed parts of ourselves. So that's the practice that I do in my own practice with other people as well as with myself. I think I want to read you a poem, and I can't decide which one. I think I want to read you, yeah, I want to read you a Rumi poem because of what I just said. And many people probably know the poem, The Guest House. But to hold it in the context of trauma integration, I want you to listen with your body and your trauma selves and just allow your body to listen to this poem. So he says, this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each one has been sent as a guide from beyond. So I read this because I think it's such an important thing, because we want to push these feelings away. And I'm saying, no, you want to invite them in. You want to find out what age they are. What is it they're carrying? What do they need? And the adult self, when you can unblend, the adult self can handle all the sorrows. And the grief, so many of us carry so much grief, but that's just the other side of the hand from deep love. We don't have grief without deep love. And so I just invite you, to maybe get that poem. I have I use a lot of poetry in my circles in my work. So, yeah.
Dad,
Um,
I don't know how to raise my hand on this version of Zoom for some reason. The techie.
well, just talk.
But I wrote in the chat because I thought it was appropriate after you were talking about before the Rumi poem, that you're working on the workbook. And I wrote in the chat that I will not let you kill yourself putting it out anytime soon, but but that you are working on a workbook for some of these exercises that will come out in the next couple years for anybody who wants to do some of the work for in their relationships or some of the work. So this was more of a memoir, but looking forward to the workbook coming out in a couple years, not anytime soon.
And in September, I'll be doing another relational intimacy workshop coming up. And I'm also looking for people who have the book to start a monthly meditation and conversation. Just it'll come with buying the book. So if you want to get the book and let us know, then I'll let you into that, and it'll probably be on a Tuesday morning, like 8 o'clock Pacific, a time to do a meditation and answer any questions, and maybe even do some process work with you if you want to do that. So that's going to be something I'm just going to do to support people reading the book, because I know the book can be triggering for people. It can trigger your own traumas. So I want to create a safe space to land, and that's something that's in the books. As soon as I get back from Canada in July, I'll start that. So you'll
And
be noticed. If you're on my email list, you'll be noticed. Okay, notified. Yes, Gail. Hi. How's New York?
Wet and gray and damp. Congratulations, Michael.
Thank you, love.
I just wanted to share with the group. I don't know what your relationships with trauma have been, but Michael helped me process through something in a group online a couple of months ago that is still releasing other things. I was sitting here after you read the chapter, and I was thinking how, to me, trauma always seemed to be like elder abuse or someone hitting someone, or it just never, I never imagined all the different small things that we store. And I started thinking as you were talking just now that the pandemic has been traumatic for everyone.
Oh, yes.
And the current government is traumatic for everybody. And I'm not looking to talk on politics. I just want to say that I think staying afloat from all this trauma is a lesson for all of us that we're all confronting with.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Gail. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're in there's, as a five rhythms teacher, I think of people as movement. Movement is energy, and we're all movement. And trauma is stuck movement, basically. And so this work is what allows us to move that stuck energy and actually open up way beyond. Like I said, mostly we continue to live into our past over and over again. We're not creating a new future. And the biggest issue around trauma, there are a number of, let me tell you the five uh, telltale signs of trauma. Just I think I mentioned the first one is separation. That trauma isolates. It severs us from our body, from our emotions, from each other, and most of all from nature. This is why we can't do anything about climate change. So we feel disconnected, numb, or alone, even when we're in a crowd or with people, our family even. So this work is about reconnecting, about healing and returning to the body and attuning with our inner experiences and risking opening to others even when we might be scared or afraid that they'll abandon us or hurt us in some way. That to take the risk to connect is what is needed right now in the world. So that's the first major impact of trauma. The second one is a sense of scarcity. If we didn't get enough as a child, I want to write something down I want to talk about here. Yeah. If we didn't get what we needed fact, I'll talk about the other part now. If we end up with a sense of scarcity, not enough, and that's not about money. That's only one aspect of scarcity. Not enough friends, not enough time, not enough good people, not enough people that think about me. All of these are trauma symptoms. If we begin to think of ourselves as an integrated ecosystem among a world of ecosystem, every time we connect, that creates more creativity, more space, more manifestation, more ability to heal the real problems that we're working with right now. And I want to go back just while I'm here at scarcity, because and give you an example of trauma that you wouldn't even think was trauma, but it can be a major trauma. So attachment trauma is one of the big areas that I work a lot with people because it's the primary trauma that where we start the work. So it's funny, Thomas is using the same, my teacher is using the same thing, but I actually started using this way before I met Thomas. So it's kind of interesting how it came up, but I love this example, and he uses the same example. And it's like, so when we're developing, we're curious. So curiosity is what takes us out into the world to explore and to learn. And then when fear comes up, we run back. And if we have a caregiver that is there to welcome us and feel safe, then that allows us to dissipate the fear and grow in our capacity to meet the world. So here's an example. Let's say that a little toddler is learning to do that and crawls away, and the dog barks, and the child gets scared and runs back and says, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, I'm scared, I'm scared." And mommy's busy with the other kids and everything. And she says, "Don't be scared, honey. There's nothing to be scared about. Don't worry about it." Well, that's a trauma. That could be a major trauma, particularly if it happened often enough. Because what actually happened there? An emotional request was met with a cognitive answer. And when that happens, there's no satisfaction to the emotional request. Whereas the same situation, the child crawls away. I switch the genders when I say this. The child crawls away, and then the dog barks, and he comes running back. "Daddy, Daddy, I'm scared. I'm scared. The dog's going to eat me." And Daddy says, "Wow, come here. You know what? I get scared sometimes too. And it's okay to be scared." And the child goes, and goes and plays with the dog. Now, that seems very innocent, but that can be a lifelong trauma and a creation of a sense of scarcity. No one's there for me. No one hears me. No one sees me. Anybody have that experience in their life? Yeah, right. Feeling not seen, not heard, not felt, not protected, but it wasn't done intentionally. It was what was passed on from parent to parent, ancestor to ancestor, that we are now learning how to correct with this new kind of science that's looking at the inner wisdom that we've carried all along. So scarcity. Another thing is what I said, the break in time. And each of these, the antidote for scarcity is gratitude, is learning how to cultivate gratitude in our own life for what we have. My friend Lynn Twist always says, "What you appreciate appreciates." What you appreciate appreciates. When we're grateful, more comes to us, more opens up for us. So then the break in time, I already talked about how we've taken the past and put it in front of us. We're living in after time. Like when you have an argument with your partner and you're still fuming later in the evening, you sleep on the sofa, then the next day you're still upset, and then the next day you are, and pretty much becomes kind of a distancing. So we end up not having a relation, not relating, but having a side-by-side relationship. We end up living side by side, not in not relating. That's what the relational intimacy workshop is about, not just personal relationships, but with all of us. How do we get rid of those places where we're stuck in aftertime? And then another issue, and again, it comes from this is initiated from this sorry, I let somebody in and I got distracted here. Um, so from this scarcity place, another aspect of what to notice in trauma is I have to be in control. I need to be in control. It makes us, if we don't have control, we feel unsafe. If it's unpredictable, we feel safe. So we try to control people. We try to control outcomes. Our emotions and sensations, we control them to mask the fear. But really, what we need to do here is begin to, particularly now with the data and it's moving so fast with all that's happening in the world, we have to learn to embrace uncertainty. And that is difficult if your main go-to is control. And then another one that I think I mentioned was absencing and distancing. So trauma pulls us away from the moment. It puts us in this aftertime. So we dissociate, we disconnect. We try to avoid feeling too much because it's just overwhelming. And when we do that, we become absent to ourselves and others. And so presencing, meditation, prayer, contemplation, time and resourcing ourselves, those are the ways that we deal with those areas. Yeah. So what else was I gonna say here?
I can just
Ah,
take a little moment while you're thinking and
yeah,
just
please.
say
Thank
that the Amazon links are in the chat, both for the Canadian and the American Amazon sites. And Anne had written, on a practical level, please take the time to write a review for the book on Amazon. If you've bought it there, it will be verified. If not, it's still a good thing to do, and it allows the book to rise in algorithms and be seen by more people who are looking for healing from trauma. There are so many who are seeking connection, community, and support like we have here. So.
That's beautiful. Mila, are you here? I'd like to introduce two people, Mila and Eliezer. So there's Mila, and she's been my writing coach. Anything you want to say about the book, Mila?
Yes. I'm very impressed with the book, and it's in 3 segments, everyone. It's really cool because he tells a story, which is yikes, I do the Cinderella monologues where women tell their stories. Yikes again for a lot of the stories, but the stories have to be told for the healing to begin. And then his book goes through reflections and then some solutions. And I really like that format. And the other thing about it is that trauma is a huge subject right now. I'm helping 6 people write books about trauma. Linda Lee is one of them. She's been working with me. We just put out the most beautiful poetry book about her travels through Europe called Reflections. And she is amazing. And so the trauma is, I didn't realize till the second or third person came to me with wanting me to help them put their trauma books together. And it's big. It's bigger than anything right now. I just couldn't believe it. So your book is so timely, and I love the 3 segments. I think that's very unique, and I've never seen anyone do that before. So it's a great book. I keep putting the link in to buy it into the chat. So make sure you get your copy and make sure you leave a review because it really helps with algorithms, like Muriel said.
Okay, and Eliezer is my very dear friend. He edited the book, and we go back a very long ways with similar experiences and pathologies and experiences. Eliezer, would you want to say something? He's
Well,
also written, what, 12 books you have and out
9.
there? 9, okay.
I'm just curious, Mila, if being asked to write all these books about trauma was traumatic for you.
Well, yeah, it is a traumatic to read, especially Cinderella monologues when there was a lot of incest and all of that, which happened to my own grandmother. And I put her book out, and she became very famous later. But my trauma was I didn't have any food when I was a kid. And then I married an organic farmer, and I have all the food. I tell people that so that they'll help poor people who don't have food now, which is a lot of people. You guys get food, please. Sorry, but that's my trauma.
I just want to say Michael's personal story is so compelling that I couldn't believe if you saw it on a made-for-TV movie, you would say, this is unrealistic. Nobody goes through this much stuff. And every time I turn the page, I'd say to my Sherry, my wife, you're not going to believe what happened to him next. I mean, I told him I think it was a miracle that he survived at all, let alone evolved and to the place where he can now be at peace with his past, which was just more than most people I know. Way more. I mean, who has a suicide and a murder of the two most important women in their lives? How does someone live through that? So I bow to you, Michael, and
Thanks, Al.
and I remember us standing together at the very top of a mountain in Yosemite. That's a memory I'll never forget.
Me either. You helped me get down. I was scared shitless. I wasn't sure where I was going to go from there, from the top. Thank you. Thank you so much. Something that Mila just said, I want to underline. So, what she said was food was scarce, so she married an organic farmer. We find relationships with our unfinished business. The body knows. You pick people to get into relationship with that will help you heal. If you can be open to that and do it as a practice of presencing what comes up in your relationship. The same argument more than 3 times, you're a racketeer. You're pushing down some kind of thing that looks like it's about the other person, but something in you that needs to be healed. And I just want to underline that because Mila just demonstrated it so well. So basically, in relationships, we marry our unfinished business. So I wanted to bring that. I also wanted to bring why is it a love story? You know, to just a little bit about that, and then I'll let you go. I know that there's no worse death than being talked to death. So we're going to end here pretty soon. But yeah, so what I learned, the main thing I learned through all of this, uh, and I call it Traumatized, a love story, because it really was. Every single part of healing in here was being present, being precise. And what I learned is that precision and presence are love. That is what, if we have I have a whole section in there talking about love. I'll just say a couple things here that, um, that the more that we can be present and precise about what's happening in us, the more we're loving that part of us that has been hurt, but we're also loving our ancestors. And as you develop, which we do in our workshops, as you work with your ancestral work and develop a subtler attunement to the subtle energies of ancestors, we have all these other transgressions and things that happened in our lineage, and that our ancestors can't heal them. They don't have a body, but we do. And so we can actually heal the pain of our ancestors by raising our subtle energy competency, by being more attuned to our body and feeling into our ancestral history. We heal that, but we also heal the future generations, not just our children, but future generations. So there's a lot more about how love that this is a love story, but I just want to honor that part and um, say I love you all for showing up, and I really appreciate your presence and your being here, and that I hope to meet some of you. Either I will start something online. Um, if you don't have a direct connection with me, then send me an email that you've bought the book, and I will put you into the group that will be starting in July. So, would Marielle, would you put that in the chat there? My personal email address,
Will
michael@welloflight.com.
do. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Gail is wondering if you could, she's mentioned that you've listed 3 out of the 5 signs of trauma, and would you mind giving them the other 2?
I think I went through all of them, but I skipped a low. So the first one is a sense of separate self. I'm a separation. And I'll just give you a quick anecdote. That's about presencing, about reconnecting. The second one is scarcity. Scarcity is so you think some of these billionaires, the biggest thing driving them is scarcity. So having more money is not going to fix it. Having more friends is being a star on Oprah or something is not going to fix this. Scarcity is something that is a trauma symptom that we carry in us. The next is a break in space time. That's what I'm saying, where we take the past and we file it in the future and we look at it and think, and we keep doing the same things over and over again, thinking that that's the way. But presence is emergent. It's happening in this moment. It's something that happens. I'm speaking and I'm creating as I speak. You remember um, when you were a kid, abracadabra? How many people remember abracadabra? Yeah? Nobody remembers abracadabra? Abracadabra, you're all rabbits. Abracadabra comes from an ancient mystical Aramaic text. Arak adhabra means I create as I speak. I create as I speak. In other words, the world that you and I live in is the one that comes out of our mouth, which is a reflection of our inside. So when you're dealing with a break in time, slow down, soften. And again, I talk about this in the book. The fourth one is control, and that's about embracing uncertainty. And the fifth one is this absencing or distancing. And begin to feel when people distance you and when they're actually present with you. Sometimes their eyes are looking out this way, and it looks like they're looking at you, but they're not. They're not present with you. So, and sometimes that's true for you or for me too. So that's the fifth one is absencing, distancing, and the antidote is presencing. Obvious, it's a very simplistic way of saying that, but we're getting at the end of our time. So I hope it was valuable for you to be here, that you got some value. I hope that you get the book and share it with your friends. And for me, this is the medicine I want to give the world. And being 80, I'm closer, thanks. I'm being closer to the end than the beginning. So I'm really passionate about this. And please let me know how you like it. Write reviews in Amazon. And I hope you'll join the meditation group that I'm going to start in July. So I'll let you know. And right now I'm looking at Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock Pacific time, but you can make suggestions too if you like. Just write me. Okay? Anything else, Marielle or Mila, that we need to say?
I'm grateful for everybody that took the time to come and share these moments together. And thank you, Forest Soul, for putting the book in the cart. And to all of you who have purchased the book already or have it in the cart, that's really the support is so greatly appreciated. And thank you,
And
Michael, for all you've done.
and
And
be
Mila.
encouraged to write your own book. Write your own book today.
There you go.
And get a hold of Mila. Yeah, so I just want to express my gratitude and my love. And if you need anything, reach out to me. I'm a little backed up, 350 emails right now, but I will get to you eventually. So thank you for your time. I don't take it lightly, and I really my deep gratitude for your taking the time to be here. So
Love you, Michael.
take care. Thank you all. Bye bye.